In this video, I want to tell you a little bit about the approval process when you work with Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing, or KDP, which I will refer to it as. So with KDP, and with anything in life, there are pros and cons to this platform. There are some cons, and some cons that I particularly don't agree with, but the platform itself makes it very easy for independent writers to become published authors, and I use it with most of my clients, if not all of my clients, as well as some other third-party distribution options. But what I want to get across to you today is the approval process and what your expectations should be when you're entering this approval process. So of course, there are a ton of things that you need to do to get your book ready to even be uploaded into Amazon KDP. So that includes whether you're writing nonfiction, fiction, a children's book, a journal, a workbook, whatever it is that you're making, the manuscript, like the interior file, has to be polished and ready and formatted properly in the correct trim size, as well as the cover. It needs to be the right trim size, needs to be just set up properly and fit properly, but depending on how many pages are in your manuscript, like there's a lot of things to consider there. But when you get to that point where you are loading your files, there's then going to be an approval process. So if you have everything ready in your book listing and you're ready to hit publish, the bare minimum shortest amount of time that it will take is 72 hours. I've seen it take shorter than that. It really depends. But I want you to prepare that it could take you 7 to 10 to 14, let's say 7 to 14 days for approval. And the reason I bring this up is because it's not like when you have a blog post ready to go on your website and you just hit publish and all of a sudden you refresh the URL of your website and it's there. There's a whole approval process that has to happen, and through KDP, that is both a system, like an AI system that reviews files, and also real human beings that review files. So it is a multiple step process where they are reviewing content to make sure your title matches the interior, your ISBNs are correct, everything is set up properly. So the approval process is an important part, but it is not quick. They tell you it can take up to 72 hours, but that doesn't include the fact that there could be errors or fixes that they need you to make. And in the past, these errors or fixes were typically just if there was something off with your cover, right? Even though in the beginning your quality check didn't show any errors, on occasion, and this is just in my experience going through this with every client that I work with, on occasion they would come back and say, this needs to be adjusted on your cover, or this thing is looking a little too close to the edge on your interior. And so they would give you a suggestion to either resize, reformat, add a little bit of margin space. Like those are the kinds of things that they would typically come back with. But now it is, at the time of I'm recording this is May 2024, they are becoming a lot more sticky about their approval process. And the reason this is important is because you need to know what your expectations are in terms of it approving and how quickly it will approve and when you are publicly, openly launching this thing. Now, there is a new setting in KDP that has to do with scheduled release, but it's only for if you have a full book, nonfiction, fiction, children's book. It can't be like a low content book, like a journal or a notebook. So you can't schedule your release if it's a low content product. So in the last 6 months or so, what I've been seeing is they're becoming very sticklery about titles, subtitles. This has nothing to do with your files. Titles, subtitles, keywords, to make sure that you are not misleading people. And in 3 out of the 4 cases that this has happened with me and my clients over the last 6 months, 3 out of the 4 times we had this issue occur, I did not see anything misleading in the words we were using, in the title. You know, it was a journal or a workbook and we had journal in the title, and they're saying that could be misleading. And I'm genuinely questioning, why is that misleading? It's literally a journal. There was one journal that was about anxiety, and it's like an anxiety support journal. It's not misleading at all. It's telling you exactly what it is. It's saying right in the title that it's a journal for people with anxiety. So this is something I need you to be mindful of, because this is going to be a longer process, I think, than what we're expecting, even with the 72-hour approval process. That is not taking into account that there could be other things that they come back at you with that they need you to change. So to sort of try to mitigate this a little bit, you want to make sure if you do have a journal or a workbook, maybe you're adjusting the language in the title and subtitle so that it doesn't have multiple references to workbook or journal. Just hopefully that isn't going to flag them. And then you want to make sure that you are being legitimate and accurate with the keywords and the description that you were writing in your book listing, because what I'm seeing is that is not just trim issues or file issues that they're coming back with. It is now everything in your book description, and you need to be as straightforward as possible and clear and not name other people, put other authors in your keywords to hopefully have people find your work. Promise anything, promise that you're going to help people make more money or you're going to help them build a business. Like, they are being very sticky with the things that you are putting in your description. So if you're planning for a launch, this can be tricky, but I want you to think about a date when you'd like your book to be available, and then work backwards about 2 to 3 weeks. And that should be the time that you're hitting publish inside KDP. If you can't do the scheduled release, of course, if you're doing a scheduled release, it's much more controllable. I would still give yourself plenty of time. 3 to 4 weeks, I think, is a good time frame. And then all that means is, let's say you decide June 1st, you're going to be publishing, like that's the launch day that you'd like to have. 3 weeks before that, you're hitting publish. If there is checks that come back or errors they need you to fix or whatever it is, you will have more than 3 weeks of time to rectify these things and then it will officially go live. And then it might be ready before June 1st. It might show up live. If people are keen, they might look into it. They might see that, they might see that your book is there. It's okay. Continue with your marketing using June 1st as the date. Continue moving forward with your plans. Continue telling people June 1st is the day you're kind of officially celebrating this book, even if it's available already and they see it already on Amazon. It's not a big deal. It's not going to cause a problem for you in any way, shape, or form if somebody purchases it before that June 1st date. It's not a big deal. So don't worry about that. Continue with it, but that gives you more space and more time to prepare for, it's like an emergency preparedness, I suppose you could call it, because the approval process is not quick and simple like publishing a blog post. They go through multiple review periods, and this is something that has already shifted in the past 6 months or so. They're being a lot more sticklery about it. That's not even a word, but that's the best way that I can describe it. They're being really firm and really detailed in going through not only your book's assets, your files, but also the description, the title, the subtitle, and the keywords. So this is something to be mindful of if you are going to be publishing a book on KDP in 2024.